What's up, guys? It's Rick Ginn, and we are live, and we're on the Rick Ginn channel talking all about wholesaling. And today is going to be a spicy topic, very near and dear to my heart because I've been in this exact scenario. And it just basically says, do you feel like just giving up or quitting? And if you haven't had this thought run in your mind as a wholesaler, you haven't been doing it long enough. And it is an honest conversation we've all had with ourselves. And the question is, what do I do when I get in this predicament? And how do I get out of this defunct? And why am I feeling this way? So I want to go through all the different stages you kind of walk through. But most importantly, I'm going to identify a series of things that are causing you to think just what I'm talking about. If you're thinking about quitting or just giving up, this video is all for you. Now, guys, keep in mind, I've been doing this 21 years. I've had a lot of self conversations. I've had a lot of conversations with other wholesalers. I know this is a predominant thought because wholesaling is actually easy. It's us, the people, that actually make it hard. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to walk you through. If you've ever thought about giving up or quitting, I want you to watch this video in its entirety. So don't worry, it's recorded. If you miss it, it is 2024. It is live and I'm doing it. So let's jump into it and let's get going here. So my first thing, and now I didn't do these in any like set order because honestly, they're all important. But I do believe the first one I give to me probably gives the most priority. And if you don't understand this, you're going to struggle with wholesaling. And the first thing is, if you ever thought about quitting, here's the first thing you have to check on your list. Ready? You're going to have to lose your ego. And what do I mean by this? I'm telling you right now, ego takes out more wholesalers than any other thing I've ever seen, period. Honestly, if I just talked about this today, I know I would do my job. Why? Number one, I used to have a very large ego when I started wholesaling. I thought I was big. I thought I was bad. I thought I was the best. And I found out real quick that I got humbled. I had deals fall apart. I went from the hottest market to the coldest market. I thought I knew everything. And I ran fast and I didn't dot every I and cross every T. And so I had problems with agreements. I wound up in court multiple times. And I'm here to tell you, the day you lose your ego is when you can actually learn wholesaling. You see, ego, which is just short for edging God out, means you just know it all. And it is a part inside your brain. I've studied this to a T. It's absolutely amazing. And we all have it. Nobody is an exception with it. That basically wants you to feel right, wants you to feel important, and wants you to win at all cost. And the problem with your ego is it's created from day one you're born, and it's built up all the way through your childhood, teenage, even as a young adult. And you have no control in how you regulate this. In fact, you've self-imposed this belief on what your ego thinks you should be. So look at your ego. It's the alter image of who you think you should be, but the reality is you are this person. So when anyone tries to discredit you, belittle you, or make you wrong, your ego jumps in kind of like your best friend and defends you. And here's the problem. Your ego doesn't know what's right or wrong. It just knows it has to win. And for the ego to win, it has to talk loudly. It usually makes up stuff. And most of the time, you don't listen to other people. Think about it. Whenever your ego lights up and you're trying to emphasize, I guess, pride within, you don't listen to anything else anyone's talking to you about, period. And once your ego's involved in wholesaling, you're done. I see it every day. I talk to people online. I see people physically at events. I can tell when their ego is completely engaged. Why? Because I was the walking poster child for this. You actually have to humble yourself and learn. And the only way you can do it is by, okay, this is my ego. I'm going to set it aside. And the sooner you learn this, the better off you'll do. In fact, if you go back to ancient Roman times, to the great Marcus Aurelius, he teaches you, Your ego is your enemy. Your ego has no purpose in your life. Ego is going to give you short-term satisfaction. You can one-up somebody, you can lie, you can show off, you can brag, you can boast. That's all your ego is there for. And honestly, the more people study it, it makes no reason why we have an ego. And I'm here to tell you, I can tell when people just hang everything on their ego because they won't listen. And if you can understand this and identify it, identify your ego. Your ego is your alter self of what you think you should be. And what you think you should be is not what you really think you should be, because it's the perception of everybody else up to this point in your life that has convinced you who you should be. In fact, you should be who you want to be, the true authentic version of yourself. And if you understand that, it will fix everything. So guys, I'm telling you, when it comes to ego, lose it. When you feel it coming up, identify it and go, okay, I'm not going to speak from ego. Rick told me I actually have to immerse myself and learn this business and learn it from really high quality people. And the only way I can do that is be a student. And here's how I know the ego is wrong. If God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, what does that tell you? Your ego can only come from here. This right here is losing your ego and using your listening skills. So as a wholesaler, number one, you have to learn to become a really good listener, especially with your motivated sellers, and especially when someone's trying to teach you or formulate you to actually do great wholesaling techniques. So if you know your ego is what you're perceived to be, but not who you actually are, why do you fight so hard to have it? So by the way, this works in all areas of your life. I'm just telling you, if you can check your ego, amazing things will happen. And you got to understand that. The next one, my God, is it a big one? I could probably go on this one 2 hours alone, but let's just go ahead and talk about it. People over property. That's what wholesaling's about. People over property. What do I mean by this? It's simple, guys. You have to prioritize people first. Then you deal with the property, AKA the real estate. Let me give you a prime example of this, and I could do this 100 times. You should be focusing your attention on your motivated seller and find out what their pain and their issues are and what they want to do to solve it. Like, where do they want to go? How much money do they need? What's an ideal time frame? What would it look like if you were able to move in with your sister and have it done in 30 days? Would that make you super happy? And that's where most of your conversation and core building skills and learning how to build rapport with people. But so many of you instantly default to what? The property. How many bedrooms is it? How many baths? How many square feet? Is there AC under there? Is it window units? Is it a central AC? Where's the furnace located? Do you see what I'm saying? And then you go from there, you take that information and you go into what I call comp hell. You go in there for hours. Some of you guys goes in there for days. Some of you go to weeks. Let's be brutally honest. And you spend all this time on the property, probably 80 to 90% of your time. When if you took that exact same energy, listen to me, that exact same 80 to 90%, and you shifted it to the people you're dealing with, trying to help, you will get wholesaling. I'm not saying the numbers aren't important in the property, the actual physical real estate, but it's just a math problem that you can do in private. While I'm with the seller, I will 100% focus on what are their pain points, what do they want to accomplish with this, and how can I make that happen for them? And the only way I can do it is I carefully listen to their problems. Remember, lose our ego, listen. And number two, I'm going to craft my conversation around building an amazing rapport so we can have a conversation. So I gain their trust and I let them know I care and I want to help them out. Why? Because I'm going to put people over property. Once you do that, it will shift on how you operate in wholesaling. But so many of you are so stuck on the math. It's just a math problem. And I've always told you guys, if you have to whip out a calculator to figure out if it's a smart investment. On a basic single family home, you're probably paying too much. So what I would do is I'd shift your attention on the people over the property. And if you do this, you will focus on motivated sellers' needs and you'll craft a solution that will actually help them out. But so many of you guys spend most of your time on the math problem. And I'm here to tell you the math problem is the easiest part of it. You've got to get deep discounts to make this work. There is no question to it. So focus on the people. The people will tell you their pain. The pain will guide you to the solution, and the solution will create a win-win offer. It is that simple. There's no other way to do this business. See, if you just focus on the property, you are now a real estate agent, and I can't teach you. My best deals always come from people. And if you put people first over property, everything else will work out. Yes, profits will work out. Yes, your sanity will eventually work out. But if you chase the numbers, you freak people out and you spend more time doing the math. The reality is if you give me 10 sellers, 10 motivated sellers, not just 10 sellers, of those 10 people, 1 or 2 people I'll actually have to do the math for. But what do you guys do? You run around and you do the math for all 10 properties and you drive yourself nuts. Meaning if you spend more time with the people, you can actually help get to a great wholesale deal. If you can just master these first 2 I taught you, it will change your wholesaling business. Honestly, the less you know about the math, the better you are in the beginning, because now you have to focus on people. And once you get down to it, the only thing you got to figure out at the end is the price. And the only way you're going to get a great price is if you buy it at a deep discount. The only way you're going to buy it at a deep discount is by spending time cultivating a relationship. Without a relationship, you can't build trust. And without trust, you are nothing more than a transactional wholesaler. And those are the worst ones out there. They got to try to squeeze every dollar because they never get a good discount. You know why? Because all they do is focus on the property. So I know I beat this in your head. I'm telling you, the first 2 are huge. And if you can make that pivotal change between losing your ego and people over property, you will be a legitimate full-time wholesaler. Without it, you're just chasing around properties. So here's the next one. And you guys already know this because I've said it a lot. And it basically says, did you really believe wholesaling? Did you really believe wholesaling was going to be as easy like your guru sold you on it? What do I mean by that? The reality is a great wholesaler is somebody who knows how to market. And what happens is, guys, I'm a really good marketer too. I don't use my wicked marketing to weaponize against wholesalers. I don't believe in it. I'm really good at it. I've been taught by the best, and it's mostly deceiving. It's mostly a lie, and I refuse to do it. So what do? I tell you the complete opposite. Let's face it. Some of you guys got in the wholesaling and you went to a seminar or you got somebody's VSL, their virtual sales letter, and it says, listen, look at me. I'm on vacation. I'm sitting here. I'm flipping properties. It's so easy. I'm sipping on a drink. I got the kids poolside. This is the easiest business in the world. Pay me $10,000. I'll show you exactly how to do it so you can have my lifestyle. Guys, did you believe that crap for a minute? Because if you did, you got walloped. And the truth of the matter is, wholesaling is a legitimate business. It works fine. And it works incredibly in your local market, and it works just as well in virtual wholesaling. Anyone else who tells you otherwise, I promise you, I can go down a paper trail of courses they're going to try to sell you, or they're going to make wild claims that, hey, I've been doing this so long, I basically invented it. Well, unless you've been doing it 200 plus years, I know you're lying. It is a marketing gimmick. It is just the truth, and you've got to understand it. So what do me and Zach do? We do the complete opposite. Why? First of all, I'm not a guy who just sits there and follows the herd. You got plenty of gurus. They all follow the herd. Just go to one event. You'll see them all together, and they all try to share revenue off of each of their students. Hey, I'm not knocking them. That's just the business, and that's just how it's done. The question is, you guys have 2 ways to basically influence the market. Number 1, with your money. Stop buying these ridiculous programs. Like, you're in a age where the stuff is actually given to you for free. Me and Zach were the first ones in wholesaling to do it. I know we can say that because that's factual. And number two, you vote with your time. Who do you spend the most time watching? Whose events do you go to? And once you understand that, those are your two control mechanisms. So how do you connect with the right people in this business? Well, number one, I've always said, and this goes in any business, find wisdom. Find people that actually do great business and are ethical in doing it. And wholesaling is no different. And I do. I'm not the one that says, you don't need a mentor. You can figure this stuff out. The only difference is me and Zach give you an avenue to test your ability to do wholesaling. Some people just aren't cut out for it. This is not for everybody. It is a hard truth because gurus want to market everybody because when the customers pay, they have no idea on anyone's ability. People are running up credit cards they don't have money on. I don't like any of that crap, but I've seen it done over and over. Payment plans, you guys kind of know how it goes. And they don't care. As long as you pay, they win, period. So if they get 1,000 people that pay them, I don't know, $5,000, what is that? That's 500 grand. It's 500 grand. So if you're successful or not, what is their buy-in to really teach you? It's not there. Their only buy-in is to upgrade you after that point. And this is the problem with wholesaling. And specifically, most investors that were created, I'm not knocking it, but it's just the truth. From 2013, 14 to 2022, I don't even know what to tell you. Like this generation of wholesalers are just different. They got in during the best time they've ever seen in wholesaling, and they thought it was going to be that way forever, and they all ran as fast as they could. In fact, some of them went on to develop courses to teach other people how to monetize their skill sets with very, very little experience. What do I mean by this? I'm getting messages from people with 3 to 6 months experience trying to tell me how to wholesale. Can you imagine that for a moment? Listen, what is the time frame for wisdom? Everyone's going to have a different rule. My rule would be like, you got to entrench yourself in this business for 10 years. Why? Because you'll see the highs and lows. You're going to have some amazing wins. You're going to have some amazing losses. And if you survive that, you're most likely a very seasoned person and you have a lot of wisdom to get people. Now, 3 to 6 months, get out of here. You have no business teaching people. 2 to 3 years, you have resourcefulness and you hustle, but you have not been tested. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Why? Because all of a sudden, all the wholesalers are disappearing left and right. It doesn't work anymore. Wholesaling's always worked. It's worked for over 200 years. 2024 is no different. The question is, did you learn the fundamentals of wholesaling or did you just take a quick run? Were you one of these guys that just did a RVM blast, an SMS text blast? You went to like one of these where everybody's kind of all in, whatever, and then they blast you and then you never see these people again and you only find out after the fact that they make most of their money, probably 90% of their income from teaching wholesaling through a course. And that is the truth. Most of the wholesalers from 2014 to 2022, they've all shifted gears because they can make a crap load of money selling courses. And how authentic are people if that's what they really did? And that's just my observation. You can formulate your own. So if you're going to hire someone or you're going to join somebody, make sure you know what wisdom is. So I think it's 10 years in the business because that defines people. It doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm not saying people can't make a bunch of money in 2 to 3 years, but to teach it on a long scale, a marathon wholesaler scale, I'm sorry, you haven't seen everything and it's coming at you. Like honestly, if you have not endured at least 3 major lawsuits, you have not been doing wholesaling long enough. God knows I've endured a lot more than that. And most of the people that I've met that have had a ton of experience, have made multi-millions of dollars, have been through lawsuits. It's part of the business. It's just, that's how business works. And it's no different outside of wholesaling. The same thing's going to happen. So when we talk about experience, I told you about 10 years. Me and Zach combined are 28 years. And you guys know I've crafted the experience of teaching my son, which honestly, teaching your own kids is one of the hardest things you can do. And I just simplified the process. I made it super simple. even though he's a really smart kid, simplicity works in wholesaling. So the simpler you make it, the better it is going to do. And I want you guys to keep that in mind. So let me do the StreamYard link. I did forget that. So I'll go put that up here. So if you guys want to jump on a one-on-one, I will put the link in the comments here under Rick Ginn. Also, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. So let me get back to our topic. We're talking about if you ever thought about quitting or just giving up. And so we're talking about wisdom. So 28 years. And let's face it, you get the old man, me. I'm not that old, but I'm 30 years apart from me and Zach. And then you got Zach, who's freshly kind of gone through it to a point, and everybody can relate with it. And so you get two for the price of one, which is absolutely amazing. And I don't need to explain enough on how great Zach is. So also, here's the difference. And most people teaching you wholesaling, they're not active in wholesaling anymore. Most of them are like, I do big fix and flips, and I do a JV partner here and there. Me and Zach actually do our local business, our virtual, and then we do it nationwide. That's right. I work with people through Flip with Rick Plus. I actually partner up with deals on them, or we connect people with them, and we do it all over the country. And I get checks mailed in. I get wires almost on a daily basis. Plus, I do my own local markets. Why? Because I'm one of these crazy persons that actually enjoys it. I'm right here in the United States, and I love wholesaling. I have not fled the country. I haven't done anything like that. I love my family too much. I love this country too much, and I love wholesaling too much. And this is why I'm always going to be active and right here doing it. Why is that important? Because if they're not active today, how in the heck are you going to get real advice on how to execute wholesaling in 2024? In fact, a lot of people teaching you wholesaling, they haven't wholesaled in like 10 years. They're just teaching you pie in the sky theories. Anyway, listen, there is a theory to wholesaling and there's what's going on in today's market, and you've got to stay in tune on what's going on. So, let's talk about things to help you out. So when we talk about like joining a team, a community, you can go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real, 135,000 members. By the way, the largest wholesaling group on Facebook, and you can throw it out to anyone. I'll challenge anyone on it. And here's the crazy part. It's only been around 3 years. Most of the other groups have been around since 2006 and 7. So that's what, 15 years. And in less than 3 years, we've basically surpassed. Go check it out. If you don't believe me, check it out. Or if we're not there, I promise you in a month or two, we are 100% going to be there. Nobody even touches ours. Why? Because we don't sit there and pitch courses all day. Number two, it is a community event. And if you decide to spam and do like most of the courses do, you're instantly banned. You're done. And if you don't offer value there, you're done. In fact, our ban list, it's such a big number. It's a good thing because there's so many scam artists. Most of them are VAs where a guru taught a coaching student, go hire a VA to go post in all these and get deals. There's people actually tell you, hey, just dive in these people, get on their podcast, suck all their members dry, and just like get it done. It's ridiculous. We don't put up with it in this group, and I think you guys enjoy it, and that's why it's the largest group on there. But also, when we talk about experience and wisdom, go over to freewholesaling.com. Me and Zach, to this date, are the only people that have put out a 100% free wholesaling course. Why? Because number one, I believe in the long play. So if I go out and I teach enough people about wholesaling and I make them successful, the more people I help, the more it comes back to me. How? I do JV deals through sellmypaper.com. More people join my community. More people join all our content. And it is a huge win-win for us, period. There is no upgrades in it. In fact, not only will it teach you to get your first deal, it'll teach you how to get to your first $100,000. And I'm telling you, why does nobody else do this? Most people offer free content. It's a teaser to get you in. I've already told you, the more people I help be successful in wholesaling, the more money I make. Why? Because I believe in what I teach. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I've been doing this for 21 years. So why not help people out doing it? Why? Because I'm here for the long play. If I wanted to take quick money and would have charged you all for the course, I would have made a ton of money. But I'm making more money now by doing this for free than I've ever done it of any guru that's going to offer a course. Listen, some people just want that quick grab and others want to run a marathon. You know which side I'm on. And it's not going to change. So if you don't believe me there, you can run over and go over to the Flip with Rick YouTube. We have 110,000 members there. And once again, one of the fastest growing channels out there. Why? Because there's so much free content out there. We teach you how to get started in wholesaling. We teach you how to use virtual marketing. We teach you how to do it in your local market. I teach how to do probates. Honestly, nobody has more videos than me and Zach put out on the internet, period. And we've only been just doing this 3.5 years. Sanity. Everyone's like, how do you do so many videos? Guess what? I just stand in front of the camera, I hit record, and I just shoot. I don't care. I know this business well. I don't get my hair done. I don't do any of this stuff. It's just straightforward content. Once you get over yourself and I tell you to lose your ego, just like I do, you can get things done and you get it done in a hurry. Also, that leads us into our Flip with Rick Plus community. And that's basically I work with a group of people. We meet up to 4 times a week. They have direct access to my DM, me and Zach's, and we meet up with them. I think we have 4 connections a week and we just answer their questions. Now, it's a community, it's a group event. It is not a one-on-one personalized coaching. I don't believe in that. That doesn't work. Go ask anyone who's done one-on-one coaching. If I did one-on-one coaching, I could only handle a handful of people and I'd have to charge you such an insane rate, at least 100 grand, because I wouldn't give up all my time to do that. So I can help a group of people, not a huge group. And number one, I give everybody a free route to get in there by doing a deal with me. Number two, if you want to cut to the line and work with me, it's a nominal amount that anybody can afford, but I'm looking for truly committed people that understand they got to do the work. If somebody wants to come in there and just click it and go, listen, I want everything done for me, we don't want you. So I don't do an interview on any of that crap. That's what you need to understand with that. Moving on. Who else includes in their Flip with Rick Plus 2 live events a year? Number one, I do love doing them. I do one right here in my backyard in Florida once a year. And I love getting to know you guys and get you in my local community because I think it's really cool. So I do a lot of fishing and boating. I'm like right on the water and everything we do is pretty much water-based. The other one is we're getting ready to go to Dallas, Texas, April 24th and 25th. And so we do them every 6 months. And the really cool thing is these are all included in your Flip with Rick Plus membership. So make sure you check that out. And it's really cool. So it's a 2-day interactive event. The one in Dallas is going to be insane. We have a lot of people coming and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're actually going to do I believe a live YouTube segment there, Flip with Rick. The Rick Ginn channel, the Zach Ginn channel will be a lot of fun. So, and you guys can participate when you go there. And we give out all sorts of fun items, shirts and stuff, but we're mostly there to learn wholesaling. I don't give you boat rides. Don't do any crazy. We go out to dinner. Everybody has a good time. And if you like to connect with people, so you connect with my DM, you connect after our live events, and then we do private Flip with Rick Plus where you get all your questions answered. And then you come to the live event. That's how you learn wholesaling. These one and done people or anybody who ever says it's evergreen or it's lifetime free access. By the way, I've got 21 memberships to those. Not one of them work right now. So stop buying into the scrap. It's whose life is it? Your life, my life. It's very confusing. It's just one of these BS sales tactics by gurus. And if you buy into it, you're at your own fault. So now we're past wisdom. The next one that you got to understand is the art of detachment. This one took me a while to really understand in wholesaling. And what do I mean by detachment? You are running a business. I know it feels like you're married to it sometimes, but you have to divorce yourself of the outcome of the event. So when you're meeting with a motivated seller and deep down inside, especially you guys waiting to get your first deal, you want that deal so bad. But here's the problem. The more you want it, the more you resonate a vibration to your sellers and they start to feel the tension. If you don't believe me, check it out. I've seen it happen multiple times. The more desperate you are to get the deal, the more you freak your sellers out. So have you ever wanted something so bad in your life and then you decide one day, I just give up on it. I'm not going to do it. And then maybe a week or two goes by, maybe a month, and it just happens like that. Wholesaling is no different. All you can do is put your best effort forward every day. And if you're working on 4 deals, I hope the 4 deals work out, but I'm not dependent on the 4 deals. And I'm going to give everything I have to ensure I get those deals, but I'm going to put my head on the bed and I'm going to go to sleep. Now, if you wake up the next day and you got 2 out of the 4, learn from why you didn't get the 2 or continue in your follow-up and move on. Don't throw a temper tantrum. Don't start cussing your wife out. Don't get upset. Don't start throwing stuff against the wall. It does not fix the problem. It just adds to your anxiety level and your stress. And for this reason, you've got to understand detachment. And the more your sellers feel your detachment, the more likely they are to do a deal with you because you don't seem overly dependent on it. I remember once a seller telling me, she goes, "You really seem to want this house really bad." And I remember right there, I'm like, that's an odd thing for a seller to say to me. She was dead right. After I bought that property, it took me 3 months to sell it and I lost money. And she sensed I wanted the property so bad. And I knew deep and down inside it was a bad deal and I still went forward with it and I paid the ultimate price. So if you ever find yourself reaching too far across the aisle, you got to learn detachment. Also, detachment goes with anything else. When a seller chews you out, maybe you're doing a cold call, you have no idea what's going on with their day. They're just having a bad day and they're taking it out on you. You have to divorce yourself from the situation. You have to detach yourself. Just remove and stop taking it in. Remember, at this point in wholesaling, you've probably accepted you're not here to make everybody else happy. You can't. You're not going to make your parents happy. You're not going to make your siblings happy. You're not going to make your friends happy because you're doing something they would never dare to do to gain your ultimate financial freedom and freedom of your time. So if you understand that your job is to become a complete wholesaler and you have to navigate the ship and you're not going to let your closest influence steer you wrong, then understand when you go out into the world and people attack you, they chew you out, they tell you to F off, all this stuff. You just got to let it like water off a duck's back. And once again, this is the art of detachment. If you want to learn more, you can do plenty of Google searches on this. This is just a small segment of a lot of the philosophies I believe in. But the more detached you come in wholesaling, guys, I'm not telling you to detach from your family and your loved ones, but it is imperative for anybody in the business that you operate it without the emotions of rejection, of when you're turned down, the drama that's involved in it. You can't have drama. Drama does not help you make decisions. It just delays them and it creates a lot of anxiety and stress. So knowing that, the art of detachment, this took me the longest to learn, but once I learned it, I understand when I'm done with my day, I hang out with my family, I have a good time. I recognize that even my competitors, the people I compete on real estate deals all the time, the people that are influencers on YouTube and stuff like that, honestly, they're all good people. But it's okay if we have a difference of opinion. This is how life works. I don't want everyone to agree with what I do. In fact, if there's a guru that endorses me out there, I I would be nervous because I pretty much kill most of their business structure. This 20, 25-year things of the pay for play to learn the basics of wholesaling, I've just killed it. And I know that. Why? Because it had to be done. It was coming. If it wasn't me, it was someone right behind me is going to do it. So I was just the one that was bold enough to do it. You know why? Because I did really good in wholesaling and it was time for the world to be launched. And then when my son joined me in the business, it was just the perfect time. So listen, people that are confident in themselves make bold decisions and they go out there. Why? Because I don't care who attacks me the most. Gurus, people from the outside. None of these people I care about. And it doesn't mean I don't care of them as a person. I just don't let their opinions influence what I do. In fact, I've had people tell me, you're never going to make it. It's suicide what you're going to do. And here I am 3 years later, they're all like trying to get advice from me. You're not going to get it from me because I just do what I do. I am not one of these people that like going to watch 15 videos and go, okay, this is how we're going to do it. You know, I believe in what works in the market, in my business. I can share it with other people. And my 21 years experience helps new wholesalers guide them through so they can actually figure out how to get wholesaling going. So um, here's a huge one. You ready for this one? And honestly, maybe I should have done this one first, but it's the truth. Going all in. Too many of you guys start out wholesaling and you try to just dip your toes in the water. And honestly, look at it like a cold plunge. If you've ever done a cold plunge, it is shocking the first time you do it. I mean, really shocking because you're not used to it. And then if you put your toes in a cold plunge, they say the probability of you not going in it is 80%. Why? Because it's shocking. Same thing in wholesaling. When you put your toes in, say you make 10 or 20 cold calls and you get beat up, you're like, Rick, it didn't work. It was so terrible. It was so scary. I was so upset. They were like screaming at me. I started crying and it was, hey, listen, go all in, accept the responsibility of wholesaling, meaning you're going to get chewed out. You're going to get rejected. You're going to feel like an oddball. You are going to do what most people don't even dare to do. And I'm not talking about physically challenging yourself. Mentally, you're definitely going to challenge yourself. But think of it like a cold plunge. Would you just slowly slip each toe in? It'd be torture. So if you're going to do a cold plunge, just go all in because it's going to be shocking if you do a toe or you go all the way up to the tip of your head. But once you immerse yourself in a cold plunge, the idea is you do it because there's short-term pain and there's long-term gain. You get a natural release of dopamine, your inflammation goes down, and you get a rush for the next 2 hours from doing it. Now, I'm not telling everybody to run out and do a cold plunge, but if you're going to do wholesaling, why would you do it any different than a cold plunge? If you just, people say, I'm going to try wholesaling, you're done. It's over. It's not going to work. Now, if you're doing it while you're trying to meet income needs for your family, I get it. Just don't use the word try. I'm going to do wholesaling while I provide for my family. And my plan is to X out of my former job in 12 months. I'm fine with that. But I am a student of words. So when I hear the word try, I'm thinking about it. I might. Don't do it. You're literally wasting your time. See, if you go all in, you don't really have another option. And that's the truth of it. I'm not telling you to do it irresponsibly, but you got to do it. So one of the factors in going all in is if you don't go all in, here's what you guys do. You pick and choose on your terms. You take a little bit of this. Oh, Zach told me to do that. This, and this. Oh, I'll just take that. And you act like it's a freaking grocery store. You can't do it like that. You can't take the things that appease you. You go, oh, I can do that with my eyes closed, but I'm not going to do that, because that's too hard. And see, that's the problem. If you go all in, you just dive into the plan and you don't question it. But if you think you know it all and your ego's running the ship, you're going to go in like a grocery store and you're just going to grab things that you think are going to help you, and you're going to be miserable in the long run. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way. Think about the NFL. How many people can go in the NFL and just pick and choose ways to make it work? If they don't follow their coach and all their instructors and all the people that help them out, their nutritionists, they're going to fail. It is no different in wholesaling. You guys, some of you that don't go all in, you decide you're going to pick and choose things. And I was really good at sales calls at my old business, so I'm going to add this to it. I'm telling you, you've got to come in, you got to lose your ego, and you've got to succumb. And once you admit, hey, I'm here to absorb and learn, it is a whole different game plan. End of story. I'm telling you right now, stop picking and choosing. How do you stop picking and choosing? It's real simple. Just go all in. And then you don't have to do all that crap. So now we're getting down to the meat of it. We're going to wrap it up here. And then I promise you we're going to take questions. But here's the best part of this. Ready? This is a huge one. All these are big. And by the way, this is 21 years experience. Like these are my own observations. I don't take this from anyone else. You ready? Getting to the truth. Now, what do I mean by that? There's two parts to it. We have to get to the truth. Guys, you can put in the comments and let me know. Getting to the truth means what? What does it mean? The reality is getting to the truth is a two-part equation. Number one, this is me and Zach's like life vision journey in wholesaling to actually give you the truth. Because I think most gurus, although I believe their intent as well, but most of them market you a pie in the sky dream, and they oversell how simplistic wholesaling is. Now, I agree wholesaling's simple, but most of us complicate the crap out of it. But there is no exception. You have to do the hard work. And that's the one thing that is never, ever advertised in a guru course. Why? Because most likely it would destroy their sales numbers. That's the truth. That is an example of the truth. And the sooner you get to a truth, the sooner you can fix a problem. If you guys do anything with Tony Robbins, one of the best communicators on planet Earth. The guy owns so many companies, it's absolutely crazy. And he's in such demand and he does what he loves. And I respect people like that. But his sole commitment to his practice is one thing. If you can get to the truth, you can fix anything. If you can't get to the truth, it is oddly, wildly a terrible ride. And that's the problem with most of society. Take anything you want. So let's start with this. The truth of wholesaling. Here's the truth. Wholesaling is actually simple, but it is going to most of you are going to screw it up and complicate it. Like you're just going to you're going to pick and choose what works for you. And I'm going to do this, but I don't want to do that. And you're not being honest with yourself and how much hard work it's going to be. And that's the part that nobody ever emphasizes until after they get paid. And then you get in a course and then the truth comes out. Now, here's the other truth is most gurus have to wait at least 30 days to tell you the truth so you don't refund the credit card. I'm going to hit you right up front. I don't care if you paid me or you get it for free. I will always have the same answer. Why? Because by telling the truth, I don't have to like think about it. I just give it to you. You know the answer where the truth will set you free? It's so true today, more true now than ever. See, because if you lie and you spin stuff, then you got to keep track of your lies and you got to have cheat sheets on how to do it. And to me, that's no way to live. So you got to get to the truth. The truth of wholesaling, it is simple, but the piece everybody misses to it, it's going to require an incredible work ethic. You're going to have to work long and hard the first year. And number two, it's going to take an immense amount of energy and you're going to want to quit multiple times. And if you don't have the willpower, the conviction, and the belief system set, you're probably not going to make it. In fact, there's such a high failure rate in wholesaling, mostly promulgated by the advent of guru courses. It's ridiculous. In fact, I just got multiple messages of a well-known guru in the last 5 years that has basically fled the country. This is about the 15th one I've heard. Fled the country, sold a lifetime program, and really doesn't do wholesaling and has left everybody whole in the bag. And there's multiple lawsuits going on. And guys, this is the problem with the business. Someone who told you it was so easy, fled the country, took millions of dollars from people, and you all thought he or she was the top dog, only to find out it's all BS in the end. Now, I'm not saying everything's BS in wholesaling, but when people elevate themselves to such a stature and their ego just blows up, instead of admitting the truth and saying, I've been running a scam the whole time, I'm not really a wholesaler, I'm doing this, they just leave the country and they leave people high and dry. I don't believe in that. I've watched it multiple times. They're all promoted on other people's shows. You're never going to see them on mine because I vet people. I make sure they actually do what they say. And if you can't produce the proof, you do not come on the live stream with me or Zach. End of story. It goes with you guys as members Flip with Rick, the Rick Ginn channel, the Zach Ginn channel. If you have a story and you want to promote it and we think it's like really exciting, we're going to verify to see if the story is real. It's terrible. See, if we get to the truth, then you don't have to chase around wannabes. I don't understand people in wholesaling that flee the country. Why? Because they're cowards. I'm not naming names here. The list is way too long to even name a name, but this is happening right now in 2024, 2023, all the way back from I started since 2003. There's at least 5 to 10 people that run every year. Why? Because the truth is so painful, they have to run. It's so painful. It's so terrible that they have to run. I don't want to do that. I want to do the exact opposite and say, listen, I love wholesaling. It's been great for myself, my family, obviously my son, and countless people. But here's the truth of wholesaling. You're going to have to work your butt off. And it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be extremely lonely in the beginning. But if you can survive, I promise you, it's going to be incredible. And to this date, I still believe every word I say in that. So that's number one, truth of wholesaling. But here's the one that you have to apply right off the bat. So me and Zach will give you the truth. So that one's already solved for you. Ready for this one? You got to know your truth. Do you know it? And what do I mean by that? Here's the reality, guys. We all make promises to people, right? And you feel bad if you break a promise or you don't come through, right? You generally feel bad, you feel sad, you feel regretful, and you want to make it up to them. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the promises and I'm looking you right in the eye right now, the promises you make to yourself. And then you habitually break them over and over. And you wake up the next day and you have another excuse. Maybe it's with your wholesaling, maybe it's with your diet. Maybe it's with the more time you want to spend with loved ones, whatever it is. But the thing is, once you decide you're going to lie to yourself, where does it stop? And the fact of the matter is, me and Zach always tell you, we're never going to be the ones that make you accountable. In the end, you have to be accountable to yourself. How do you become accountable to yourself? Simple. You have to tell yourself the truth. So when it comes to wholesaling, especially when I do these lives and someone goes, hey, Rick, I've done everything known to mankind, wholesaling doesn't work. Man, I hope they got an hour set aside because this is going to be quite a lesson I'm about to teach you. Everything is an excuse. That's all it is. Once I hear the word everything, I know you're just making an excuse. That means you've done everything. And I'm going to rip through the list. I want to see exactly what you've done. Show me what you did yesterday. Show me the day before. Show me the week before. And show me the entire month. Let's go through the data. How many phone calls did you make? How do I know that's the truth? Let me see your dialer. Let me see your script. Let's do a role play. I want to see how confident you sound. Who's your title company? Who's the main contact person? How many probates did you pull this month? How many arrest records, fire damage, water shutoffs? How many government lists did you get? How many reverse driving for dollars did you do? How many driving for dollars leads did you get? How many high equity? How many vacant homes did you do? Did you do any pre-probates? Guys, I can go on and on because a good wholesaler understands they need a plethora of leads. So when you say you did everything, but you can only produce 26 leads and you only called 20 of them, it's a cop-out. You're lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, number one, you have to identify it. Number two, you got to just stop doing it. If you don't stop doing it, there's nothing me and Zach can teach you. Because if you're going to lie to yourself, I know you're going to lie to me and Zach, and you're going to lie to everybody else that you know. Once I decided to start telling myself the truth about everything in my life, it was painful at first, but it allows me to fix anything I want. You guys have somebody in your life that constantly tells you a lie and they just keep lying to themselves, and it's so obvious what the problem is, but they keep lying because you know why? They're trying to convince themselves and tell themselves a story. And you know what? If you believe that story long enough, your excuse comes valid in your mind. It feeds your ego, and everything is a cyclical effect, and you can't fix it, right? For the longest time, I was told I was big bone. I wasn't big bone. I was fat. Simple as that. We got to stop like band-aiding the truth, because the more you band-aid the truth, the more you hurt people. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and just bust people wide open, but I'm talking about you. You got to be accountable to yourself. So if you say, simply ask yourself this question at the end of the day: did I absolutely do my best in wholesaling today? And if you can answer it truthfully, I'm fine with it. But if you called 10, 15 sellers and that's it, and you think that's the best, you're not being truthful with yourself. You need to get an idea how many leads you need. And remember, as a new wholesaler, you can't have enough leads because leads equals opportunities. Opportunities turn into deals. Deals turn into cash in your bank account. So, are you going to be honest with yourself? If you can't be honest with yourself, there's nothing me and Zach can teach you. Why? Because you're just going to pivot. You're going to tell yourself a lie and you're just going to keep covering up and you're going to avoid doing the things me and Zach tell you you have to do to be successful. And then that's when the excuse train starts coming. And once the excuse train comes, I can't help you because excuses is you trying to validate your story. So listen, it doesn't mean wholesaling can't be tough. It is, but you have to solve problems. Because if you sit here and try to defend excuses all day, there's nowhere to go. I can't help you out. So once you start telling yourself the truth, remember, as Tony Robbins said, this is not my quote. If you can identify the truth, you can fix any problem in your life. But if you're just going to keep saying the same story over and over to feed your ego and keep that circular loop going and feed the gossip train, there's nothing anybody can help you out. But if you want to change your story, you can change your life. And how do you do it? You have to tell yourself the truth. If you will just take me on this mission and tell yourself the truth, it's so much easier. I have people that goes on these lives, and so I can tell they're not telling the truth. Why? I've been doing this 21 years. So if you're going to get on here and tell me a lie when we do a live, what do you want me to do? Like, if your priority is just to look good on camera, you don't get it. And I want you to understand. So it's not about your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, Zach, or myself keeping you accountable. You have to learn to become accountable to yourself. How? You have to tell yourself the truth. And listen, sometimes you're just not going to live up to the standards of wholesaling. It happens, but you come back the next day and you give it your all. But when you keep lying every day and it just keeps repetitive and you never get anything done, it's a pain in the butt. So I take, guys, if you ever were thinking about giving up, quitting, or firing yourself in wholesaling, I want you to go back through this live. Why? Because it's important. Because I didn't comb the internet to get my answers. I gave you the answers internally that I've documented over the last 21 years. And honestly, they're all just as important. And if you can figure these things out, you can stay in this business for the long haul. We all think about quitting at some time. Everybody does at some point. Think about rock bands. Make tons of money. They just get so sick and tired of each other. You know how that story goes. You got to be the rock band that stays together in wholesaling. And the only way you can do it is you've got to identify the things that are going to take you out. If you know the things that are going to take you out, then get in front of them so they won't take you out and you can survive this business. So that's pretty much it on that. So if you ever thought about quitting, I'm like, I get it. So uh, um, awesome. So I appreciate Tina's comment here. I do have a lot of knowledge in this, but like I've earned it, guys. Like I got the scars to show for it. So um, let's see here. Who did I miss? Uh, so here's a good one. So M Hobby. I feel like telling people I'm doing wholesaling yet to still have my first deal. So number one, so I'm going to give you some of my approach. This is my personal philosophy. We're in a world where everyone tells you what they want in life, what they want to do, but very few people show. So the biggest cure is do it as opposed to say you're going to do it. Let me give an example. If you want to lose 30 pounds, say you're 30 pounds overweight, stop telling everyone you're on a diet and you just lost 3 to 5 pounds. Or as the women say, 8 to 9 to 10 pounds. Just stop it. Nobody cares. What people will stop and admire and give you credit for is the work you've actually done. So you have someone who talks about, hey, I'm going on a diet today. That's the easy part. I can't give you credit starting the diet. Sorry. In fact, the word diet, the word has the word die in it. Why don't you just make a permanent change the way you eat? You'd be better off. Now go to the person that's already endured 3 to 6 months and they look amazing and they've taken the discipline and the willpower to enact a plan and follow through on it. That's the person I'm going to compliment. See, the key is stop announcing to the world what you do. Now, most of the world, when you tell them you're a wholesaler, number one, they're like, what the hell's that? And number two, they don't care. And number three, they mostly think it's like illegal or a scam. So what I like to do, by the way, the first 2 years, nobody gave me the time of day in wholesaling. Everyone thought I was a scam artist. They had no idea what I did. Why? Because I had a professional job for 12 years before that. In fact, for the first 5 years, nobody hardly even looked at me in wholesaling. Everybody assumed I was broke. I didn't have anything. And here's the difference. I just steadily picked away and built my fortunes. Why? Because I could. I didn't talk about it. I learned bragging about it was a waste of my time. And I just made investments in myself. I made investments in my real estate. I made investments in my business, and they paid off over 21 years. And I'm telling you guys right now is your ego wants to brag about everything. So like I get it if you're telling people, listen, but the wholesaler is a word we use internally. You don't want to use it externally. Why? Because I'm just a guy who buys houses for cash. That's the message you want to communicate to the world. In here, you can say it here, but it is an internal term because the word wholesaler outside our business is a very derogatory term and people assume the worst. Why? Because most people don't have the guts to do it. I got to get a traditional job. I got to go to college for it. Wholesaling doesn't care about any of that. And because of that reason, wholesaling is not given the credit it deserves. But who do you want to give credit to? I want to give it to my wife, my kids, my family, my parents, the people that I truly want to honor. Outside of that, I don't give a rat's flying butt what anybody thinks about me. And you need to take that same attitude. So I was only focused on getting my first deal. And then after that, I wanted to get up to 5 deals. And then here I am 21 years later, 3,000 plus deals. Why? I just built momentum with each one. The first one was painful, I ain't gonna lie to you. And that's how it should be. And then you build up the confidence and you get better and better with it. But I want everybody to understand that. So if Fuentes, he's brutally honest, he feels like throwing in the towel. So go back through this video and go through the checklist I just gave it to you. Listen, if you ever done something in your life that's worthwhile, that has an incredible payoff, there is a cost for it. End of story. And I want you to think of, what about the people who win the lottery? Most people win the lottery wind up being miserable people because they don't understand money. Everybody wants stuff from them, and they will learn super fast. Money will not buy you happiness. Actually, happiness has nothing to do with money. Now, I will tell you, money will give you options in life, which is nice to have options to solve problems, especially for people that need help with sick care, or they need physical help. They need help fixing stuff up. Money will give you options, but it's never going to buy you happiness. Happiness has to come from inside. I've seen some of the brokest people I know. They're the happiest people I've ever met. And I envy people like that. And we're all striving to be there. But like, listen, when you want to throw in the towel, just ask yourself, is the effort worth the reward? And you have to ask yourself, most of you have a false expectation what wholesaling is, and that's where the real problem has jumped into it. So let's see here. Content. I appreciate it, Winston. Thank you so much. So let's jump on and take on some lives here, and let's see who we can help out. So Sebastian, what's going on, man?
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good, man. Let me turn my volume up here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you? Oh,
Okay, hold on, Sebastian.
yep. You're good.
Okay, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. How you doing, Rick?
Good, man. What's up?
Well, first off, I know I'm not the first person, I won't be the last, but just want to say a huge thank you to you and Zach. Got my first deal closed about a month ago now, maybe a little over a month, and
Awesome.
I've got another one assigned that should be, even bigger assignment, or is going to be an even bigger assignment that's closing here next month, and I've got more coming up in the pipeline. So, yeah,
So you're
just
doing this locally or virtually?
locally. Yeah, I'm in Kansas City.
So tell people, I mean, you don't have to don't give addresses or anything, but
Yeah,
tell them how you got your first deal. Cause and tell them the struggles you kind of went through in getting
yeah,
your first deal. Because I know I went through this. Well, like when I did my first deal, I thought there's no way in hell someone's going to pay me like to do this.
yeah,
And like it fell apart multiple times, but I remember just sitting there. I'm like, I almost told myself, if it doesn't go through, maybe this just isn't for me. So I've been through it. I'm sure you went through a lot. So if you can share kind of like your journey, what you went
yeah,
through, but don't give address or anything like
sure.
this, and tell us how you found the deal and like
Yeah.
what epiphanies you had from it.
Yeah, so I've been trying to wholesale for about a year now,
Hmm.
and so it took me close to a year, pretty much almost exactly a year to close that first deal. I started off doing a lot of cold calling,
Hmm.
doing the government list that you guys recommend, right? Code violations, probates, pre foreclosures. I've since learned don't cold call those. But me and my now fiance, we ended up buying a house, and so we kind of took a break from the wholesaling towards the end of last year and through the holiday season. And
Yeah.
so this year, wanted to get it going again, and I was started to kind of cold call again in January. And for some reason, once February came around, I was like, I gotta do this reverse driving for dollars that Zach is always talking about. You guys are always talking about.
Hmm.
Um, and so within so yeah, I started reverse driving for dollars. I didn't even like drive a specific list. I was just, let me go to this part of town and just start driving and leave a bunch of sticky notes out. And so I started get like immediately I was like, oh crap, like this really works.
Yeah.
Because that like immediately phone starts ringing, like people coming in. Obviously a whole lot of no's. But I think during the period where I was cold calling pretty consistently, I did get a lot of experience talking to people. And so even though cold calling didn't pan out for closing my first deal, I did get a few appointments from it, and I learned how to motivate, or how to recognize motivated sellers, and how to have that conversation with them. And so then by the time that I got to actually reverse driving for dollars, I feel like I had that experience to then actually talk to them a little bit more and find out who's worth spending my time with, right? And
Hmm.
so that very first deal actually ended up where I was reverse driving for dollars a different part of town, and I happened to come across a code violation property that had stickers on the windows boarded up, and yeah, so I wasn't even targeting a code violation. I was just driving around, and I put a sticky note on it, and a few days later they call me, and that ends up working out. I did have a few struggles with it, of course. I originally got it under contract for 47, but my buyers were all coming back at wanting to be at 40 or like under 40, and so
Hmm.
I had one buyer that was like that. I had built a good a little bit of good rapport with at the time when he came to walk through the house because it was vacant. That I was like, okay, well, he was like, he needs to be at 40. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, could you do a little bit over 40 if I can get him down to 40, if I can get the original seller down to 40? And he was like, yeah, I could probably do that. And so I called the seller back and was like, hey, like, basically the seller hadn't done I hadn't gotten the permits to actually do some of the renovations that he did inside the house. And so
Uh-huh.
it was kind of the feedback that I gotten from my buyers was like, yeah, he didn't pull the permits. So like the moment an inspector is going to come in, they're going to, raise a bunch of red flags about all the stuff that he's done wrong. And so they needed the lower price. Right. And so I basically told that to the seller, and he was like, no, like I've got other people offering me, you know, more than what you're offering. And so,
Yeah.
um, going off of some advice that you guys had said in some previous videos, I was like, okay, well, take it. Like I'm not going to get in the way of you getting your, getting the money that you want. Like I was like, okay, yeah, take it. Like that's fine. Like
Detachment. Good.
yeah, like I didn't like, it's fine. Like I don't need this, right? But like
Hmm.
if you have somebody offering you more, right, but I'm not going to stop you. And so I thought it was over, right? And so
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he wanted me to swing by the next day to drop off the keys and take get the lockbox off it. And so I go by the next day and I call him right as I'm pulling up. I'm like, hey, like, do you want me to just hide the key or drop it off at your house, because he lived a little down the street. And she was like, oh, well, just wait there, I'll pull up. And so he came up, and I was like, of course, we're really nervous, right? That this
Yeah.
dude's gonna, like, be angry at me and like just, I was expecting the worst. And he comes out and he's like, you sure you can't do over 40? You sure you can't do over 40? And I was like, yeah, dude, like I have to be at 40.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, well, if you can do 40, we can do 40, but you have to close even sooner. Like I had to close by that Friday. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, I can, like, yeah, I can do that. And so I went back to my buyer and was like, hey, like, can you do 42? Like, I didn't even want anything crazy. I was like, dude, just give me
Yeah.
something and let me like close this first deal. And oh god, like there's way more I could go into, but like, yeah, it's definitely a whirlwind of just
So
like
how much did you make on your first deal?
just 2 grand.
2 grand.
Yeah.
And would you say mostly that like you learned the journey of wholesaling? If you had the skill set you have now, you probably could have made more, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
like sometimes you just take the initial victory, which
yeah,
is very common, and like
exactly.
it's not. I did deals where I did a deal where I made $1,500 my first 90 days. Like I was, because I was mortified to go back and ask for more of a discount, get
Yeah.
more cash buyers in. So roll us up to your second deal. What's going on with that one?
Yeah, so that one was another reverse driving for dollar sticky note. Again, wasn't even going for a specific lit. A driver wasn't driving a specific list.
Uh-huh.
This one was back one of the first sticky notes that I'd actually put out, and he had kept texting me. Like he would never call me, but he said yeah he was interested, but he would never answer the phone or he wouldn't call me. And
Mhm.
so a month goes by of us like texting back and forth. Like I'm following up with him every week. Like, hey, like, haven't heard from you. You're still interested, blah, 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 just whatever's going on. Right. And so finally one day he's like actually responding like quickly to me. And he's like, hey, like, and I was even like throwing it out to him, like, hey, like I have this other property that I need to go, I have an appointment with that I did actually have an appointment with from another driver reverse sticky note. Like I have it that day, Monday at 2 o'clock, if I could swing by to take a look at the house. He never answered. He texted me the next day. It was like, hey, like, are you available later in the week? Anyways, Friday finally comes around and he's texting me if I could still come in and swing by and see it. And so I go by. I like was trying really hard to do the preconditioning that you guys talk about,
Yep.
because he wouldn't answer the phone, and so I couldn't get to him. And he was like, oh yeah, my wife will be there, like she'll show you the house, and if the number works out, it's good for you, or it'll be good for him. And so I kept texting. I was like, I told him, I was like, hey, like, I over text, I was like, I'm not trying to be a pain, but if you're the one that owns the house, I need to have this conversation with you. Like, I'm trying to
Mhm.
make you an offer. I want to make you an offer on the spot. I only go out to the property once. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Like
Yeah.
exactly what you guys say, right? And
Uh-huh.
eventually he's like, all right, yeah, I'll show up. And so, yeah, I get there. The property's actually really good condition. Super lucky. Like the inside's actually pretty nice. It was just the outside was missing some paint, and like the window sills on the outside were falling off. So nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and I do the good cop, bad cop that Zach talks about. I like go out go out to the car, like call my
Yeah.
fiance,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, like this one's actually gonna work. Like, and so I go in, do the good cop, bad cop, and I got them to agree to 90,000. When he was over text, he was saying 135 as is. And
Mhm.
so I went for no, right? And I told him 70. So my first
Yeah.
offer to him was 70. And they was like, no, we could get more from like the We Buy Ugly Houses people. And they had a whole story, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, or like, he was like, well, the realtor that sold the house next door said that she could sell it for 135. And I was like, yeah, but that's with her doing her commissions, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so eventually the wife spit it out, was like, oh yeah, we were hoping to be closer to like 100, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do 100. I can probably do like 85, 90 if we can do this today, right? And like
Yeah.
I told you, like, I only want to come out once. I live down in Kansas City. Like, I don't want to keep driving back and forth for all this. And so eventually they were like, okay, yeah, like if we can agree to it today, right? Like we'll do 90. And so started Mark. So I got it under contract, super excited. Because this one definitely seemed like we were going to get more of a spread than we did for that first deal. And so started marketing it out to buyers on Facebook. And I called, and so nobody on the Facebook people, or none of the buyers on Facebook were really that interested in that area. And so I started calling the for rents in the area. And I got one of them to come out and see it. Because I had actually called him from another property in that same area. But from the for rents. And so he came out and saw it. Him and another buyer came out at the same time, and I ended up assigning it to him for 105. So I got 15. So it's going to close here on April 1st. But I've already assigned and everything, so should get 15 on that one. So
yeah, and so you like it just becomes a progression.
Oh yeah,
and that's what most people like. You got to get. It's like, dude, if you ever think about like riding your bike the first time, here's the only difference is, have you ever met a kid that I've met a few kids in my life that didn't want to ride the bike, and their parents threw them on there. They fell down once and they ran off screaming into the house.
Yeah.
And for those of you who want to do wholesaling like that, don't even try. I'm just going to tell you, because it's going to hurt like hell.
Yeah.
But if you really want it and you go, man, I would really love to have the freedom of my lifestyle, but like you agree, Sebastian, that you're paying a price for what you do. And you're okay with it, right?
100%.
Because listen, if you don't want to do that, you can go get a job and build somebody else's dream, or you can do yours. Yeah. It's a wild roller coaster, but I'm just telling you, like, your experience is the exact same that I had, that most people have in wholesaling, and everybody has this expectation they're gonna make 50 grand right off the bat.
Yeah.
And like, once you like, you're really good for the amount of experience. How old are you?
I just turned 26.
So that's amazing, because I didn't find this business till I was 33. Is when you get really good at negotiating, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, I had a deal where I could have easily taken what they gave me and made a quick $25,000, but I spent an extra 2 hours with them, and I walked away 30 days later with $100K.
Oh, wow.
And to me, it's incredible. Now, it took 10 years to learn how to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But the idea, as long as you can stack up paychecks along the way and get it, because we're all taught in school, right? Like we go to traditional schools, we go to college, and then like you get the shock of the world. Most people want you to be an intern or a salesperson and prove yourself. And like, you could have spent that entire time earning and like probably been even more effective.
Yeah.
And most people will not subscribe to that theory. They think you got to go to school, you got to sit back, take tests, and then one day you're thrown out into the wild. And this is why you got more kids living in their parents' basements that are so addicted to social media and video games. They don't know what to do. They don't know what hard times are about. So I give you a lot of credit for what you're doing, because I just like, you're the type of person I try to reach out to. And doing this at 26 is really young, by the way. It's just keep crafting your skills, because it's unlimited what you can do with real estate. And you already know through history over hundreds of years, most wealthy people had something to do with real estate at some point past owning their own personal home.
Yeah.
So I love it, dude. I love what you're doing. Do you got any questions for me while you're on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so just to touch on the point you made about the job. So I'm an engineer. So like, I went to college. I'm a mechanical engineer. I actually put in my 2 weeks last week. And so my last day is this Friday.
So how'd you get into mechanical engineering?
I was, as a kid, I was always like super hands-on. It's just one of the things that came naturally to me. I did robotics. I'm actually from Orlando. And so I did robotics all through like middle school and high school. And so it was always just part of me. Like I'm a super creative person. I'm really good at like spatial visualization, like 3D modeling. But once it became my job, it like sucked the fun out of it. It was like, oh, like now I'm getting paid. Like it was good, right? Obviously I was getting paid well, like nothing crazy, but like, it was like, like this thing that I was doing as a kid, like, oh, like now it's like this grueling thing that I like have to do it. And so I
remember one of Zach's high school counselors, so when he was a senior in high school, he was actually in his second year of college by then. She's like, Zach, if you really apply yourself, I sort of got, she said this, if you really apply yourself, you could make up to $100,000 in 1 year if you really apply yourself. I remember Zach going, you kidding me? He goes, I plan on doing that in 1 month. And I got called in. She goes, your son's super cocky. I go, he's not cocky, but I've been educating him since he was very young
Yeah,
that he can do whatever he wants.
exactly.
And I go, I come from a business where I make $100K a month. Like I literally do it. She goes, you're lying to me. I go, I do. Like, listen, I don't have to prove anything to you. I go, the
Mhm.
fact that I can show up here on Wednesday at like a 1 o'clock should say all you need to know.
Exactly.
And less
Exactly.
than 12 hours notice. And number two, 100K, that's like slavery to me. Like, why would I ever have him earn 100K? Like when he could do it in a week, a month, whatever he wanted to do. She goes, listen. And I remember just making a point. I go, let me ask you, how much do you make a year? She goes, well, that's not pertinent to this conversation. I go, okay. Well, I go, well, listen, why don't I just Google what the average high school counselor makes? I'm not trying to, but why would you limit other people? Like, so
Right.
why would you tell him like that is the highest goal he's ever going to achieve? And
Exactly.
I got in a lot of trouble. Like even my wife's like, man, you caused a lot of ruckus at that high school. I'm like, it's ridiculous. And I had to venture to tell her, I go, my son's about to earn his AA degree while he's in high school. You don't even know that.
Mm.
And number two, the reality is you're making between $50,000 and $75,000 a year, and you're really limiting these kids' dreams. So I'm
Yeah.
not, I used to kind of frown on people did like homeschooling and stuff. I get it now. And my grandkids are going to have a whole different world. I mean, I think with AI and stuff, it's going to be very different. But
Mhm.
why people go to traditional schools anymore, it's just beyond me. It doesn't make any sense. Most of the crap you learn there, because you're a really smart guy, just like Zach is. And I said, Zach, just because you're smart. So I've learned most of the time, the smartest people usually work for the most creative people.
Hmm.
And that's where you understand the distinction and the difference.
Yeah.
But because the problem is schooling always teaches us to like go get the best job out there. And nobody ever talks about like going getting your own. And that's what just
Mhm.
drove me nuts. And I almost lost it at the University of Florida and his high school because everything was about a job, job, job. Now, the
Mhm.
University of Florida has their own school of entrepreneurship, which I still question it to a point because I don't, higher education with that doesn't even make sense. But it was a step in the right direction, and I commend you for what you're doing. I mean, that's an interesting background. I think it's really cool because Zach's very similar. He has like a photographic memory. It does math. It just the tip of his like never studied math, whizzes it. Never ever had a problem with math. Could have gone to any school in the country for math, and he went to University of Florida on a full ride. And I just
Yeah.
like. And we had a long talk in our house about school because his mother's an educator
Mhm.
and I'm an entrepreneur. And I go, listen, I tried that route. I go, I don't think it's going to work out. Zach goes, oh, give me a year and a half. I'll just bang it out real quick.
Yeah.
And he did a massive cold calling while he was in his dormitory. And so I would show up with a bag of cash. Honestly, I never had more fun in a year and a half when he did that. It was a lot of fun. So
That's cool. That's cool.
kudos to what you're doing and just keep doing what you're doing because I just want everyone to hear it. Like sometimes they hear it from me, like, Rick, you've been doing it 21 years. It was so easy when you started.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here to argue with you, like how much harder it was when I started, even though it wasn't as many people. There was like no rules. Like you didn't understand what to do. And I got in trouble multiple times from the state of Florida and the federal government trying to ask me, what is this wholesaling you're doing? And is it legal? And I hired a lawyer and I'm just like, hey, here's my deeds. Here's the title company. And they're like, hey, what he's doing is legit. There's no question here. You know who told on me? Realtors and title companies that didn't understand what I was doing.
Mhm.
And the only time it became a problem with my title company is when I broke my cardinal rule and I used somebody else's title company. That's what always got me in trouble.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to report you. You're doing something illegal. I'm like, just because you don't understand it doesn't make it illegal. So most of your friends and your family, like you grew up with,
Mhm.
it's really hard to relate with wholesaling. They're like, what do you do? I go, I just buy houses. They
Yeah.
all assume, everybody assumes I'm a fix and flipper. I don't care. I don't correct anybody anymore.
I think that's
So
what everybody that at work that I'm leaving, yeah, thinks now.
you just
That
leave it.
have
Like,
kids.
okay, fix and flippers, man. I'll sell to those people all day
Oh yeah.
long. So,
Well,
okay, bud, I'm proud of you, man. Keep coming back on. I would love to hear more from you. Okay.
thank you. Thank you. I
Okay,
appreciate it.
man. I'll see you. Okay, we got time for another one. Desiree, you there?
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm getting you.
I'm fantastic. What's going on?
And nothing, just a bit cold here over in Houston today.
Yeah, you're in Houston. How cold is it there?
I don't know, the temperature dropped probably like 10 degrees since this
Oh yeah,
morning.
it's coming this way.
You know, the Texans don't deal with cold weather very well.
Yeah. Well, it's I got some fishing. Hopefully, I can do on Wednesdays. I like to fish during like the middle of the week, guys, because it's like not as much traffic out there, and I can still do my wholesaling, and I still got my phone on my computer on my boat. I know that sounds weird, but I enjoy it. So, what can I help you out with today? Are you going to visit us when we're in Dallas?
Absolutely, yes. I'm looking super forward to it, and my husband's actually coming with me.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from South Africa.
Ah, okay. I hear the accent there. It's really cool. So, excellent. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, so I just wanted your opinion on this new rule that was passed on Friday with the realtors, where they,
Yeah.
not banning the commission structure, but they're kind of doing away with it. I know it's gonna like affect the buying side, but how is that gonna affect us as wholesalers? Because my day job is a loan originator, which I'm kind of moving out of, and I'm getting full time into wholesaling.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news. As a wholesaler, it really doesn't affect us at all.
Mm.
In fact, it's going to create more opportunities from us because now realtors, they're going to have to get creative. The bottom line is what this does is it's going to push realtors that list the property because whoever lists it's usually in control. They're going to have to actually find a way to sell them on their own instead of relying on the MLS to do everything for them.
Mm.
And that is going to be a real challenge. And then buyer's agents are only going to do work with people that sign commitments up front. So the only thing I haven't seen the handwriting on the wall, because it doesn't really drop till July, is how are the buyer's agents going to be paid? Here's the problem with realtors. Like I'm just telling you, they all, with NAR and everything, and the lawyer, they're all going to collude together and come up with a solution, and it's probably not going to fix the problem in the long run. So so the initial agreement was the buyer's agent has to be paid outside the closing, or that's got to be funded separately from the mortgage. I got a feeling that the entire mortgage business, NAR, and although they're all going to get together to make room for the buyer's agent to be paid on the HUD. If they do that, the reality is there's just more disclosures and there's more heat on the listing agent to do their best to sell the property on their own. And so how does that work with wholesalers like us? Is now we actually can help people get their property sold and they're going to be much more open because everything's a negotiation. So the only thing I know is like if I go to list my property right now, I've already tested this by the way, multiple times on properties I'm selling, is I can list it between 1% and 3%, and agents are going to bid what they think they need to do. And that's it. That's the negotiation. So now when a buyer's agent goes out, the problem with the buyer's agent, most of these people are FHA and VA buyers.
Correct.
And I think they're the ones that are going to get hurt the most because
Yeah.
how are they going to pay the fee if they can't even, I mean, if you're getting a 1% to 3% down mortgage, how the hell are you going to pay the buyer's agent? So what the wild child is, and it's interesting that you're in the loan origination business, is are they going to let the mortgage companies, the originators, are they going to fund those fees in the mortgage? That's the only thing I haven't got answered. If they do that, honestly, it's just going to be a big fat disclosure thing. And we're going to jump through a bunch of hoops for nothing. Realtors tend to all kind of listen. I didn't think the system was that bad to begin with, but I thought it was ridiculous. Everything 6%. You know, if you go over to Europe, it's 1% to sell a property. America is the most expensive transaction for real estate in all the world.
Yes.
And that's the bigger, and the average home approaching $500,000 in the United States, 6% is a significant amount of money. So it really comes down to me is how they fund the buyer's agent. If they let it go through the mortgage, what really changes, Desiree? What? Nothing, just disclosures, right?
Okay.
If you can't fund it to the mortgage, it's going to be a nightmare because most buyer's agents that represent new home buyers, they don't have enough money barely to scrape up escrow money and much less even pay the upfront and the closing costs, right? And then if they have to pay the buyer's agent separately, it'll be a nightmare. And I think they're going to find a way, and it's going to come down to the mortgage. So I'd love to hear your feedback, and maybe we come out to the live event. I would find out specifically, are you going to be able to fund the buyer's agent through a new mortgage? So when people are selling, they pay the sellers, the listing agent through the equity in the property, and that makes sense. So if you have a buyer that's putting down 1 to 3%, and then they got a 2 to 3% buyer's agent fee, how's it going to be paid for, and who's responsible for paying for it? Once we know that, then we'll know. But like, do you really think they're going to cut like the mortgage out of it? The mortgage business is so influential. So I'd love for you to kind of lean on that side and find out what they say about that part of the equation, because that's the only one that no one's ever explained to anybody yet. And I still think they're trying to work it out. So do banks still want to originate loans and pay the agents or the broker's commission? Because keep in mind, as you know, the loan originator, they got to pay fees to the loan originator. And then do they want the mortgage? So in fact, there's usually 5% fluff built up in those things to pay the people that actually put the loan together. So if you have to pay 1.5, 2 points, and then the bank want to make their points, is there room for the buyer's agent in there? Have you heard anything on that yet?
No, there was a little bit of underlying discussion this morning about increasing the actual first time home buyers programs, like the down payment assistance programs,
Yeah.
to include the agent's commission on the buy side. But
Mhm.
I mean, those down payment assistance programs are a lot of hogwash, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because they charge so many points that those poor people are not getting any money.
No,
I
I know.
just I was just like, if there's no agent commission on the buy side anymore, like, how is that going to impact us, like, as the wholesalers? Um,
Well, to me, it creates more opportunity because people are going to be much more creative. So it is
mhm,
a huge plus to the wholesaling community. The question is, what does it do to the loan origination business? And what happens to the buyer's agent? Because when someone buys a property 1 to 3%, the amount of fees they get hit with closing cost is astronomical.
it is.
PMI, they pay more in points. And I'm like, if you got to throw the buyer's agent thing on there, it's going to be a very painful transaction. So we just have to sit back and wait. It's good news as a wholesaler. Why? Because people have to be more creative and they got to be more open-minded to solutions to selling a property, because they got to find a way to fund the buyer's agent. So they'll be more likely to want to work with a wholesaler because we're not licensed agents. So suddenly we become somewhat attractive. How we bridge that conversation, stay tuned. We're trying to find the best way because we're already playing around with it. So let
Yeah.
us know what you hear with that. And then when you come out to Dallas, I would love to hear more in person from you on it, since you're actually in the business. So because it's got to be coming down. So everything's dropped sometime in July and they have to do it.
Mhm.
And so I'm even part of multiple lawsuits where, like, I'm part of a class action suit because I've sold many properties. And anytime I had a buyer's agent, I think it was 2015 to 2020, um, I'm getting like $1,400 for each of those properties. So I hired someone to do all that paperwork for me.
Awesome.
So I'll just take whatever money they throw at me. So I don't lose sleep about this, but it's going to
No.
be very interesting. Once they answer those questions we talked about, we'll know exactly how to counter it as wholesalers. But
Yes,
I think it's a huge win.
I actually had several of my clients reach out to me today and say, "Hey, we know you investing in properties. Do you think you can, like, finance us so we don't have to pay our buyer's agents?" And I'm like, "Sure. Let me go find you some properties."
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot more openness to talk to wholesalers because we're really good at marketing and creative solutions. And the problem is most realtors, I'm not knocking it, but like they're very stuck in one wedge. It's been
Mhm.
6% forever. I always thought it was crazy, but I thought the lawsuit was a little bit crazy. I thought there was better ways to institute it, but in the end, the lawyers are going to make the most money, and then hopefully wholesalers will be right behind them. And they predict that half the realtors are going to leave the industry, which
Correct.
creates a lot of openness, which honestly, there's too many realtors to begin with. Let's be honest with it.
Mhm.
So
Well, appreciate
Desiree, I look forward to seeing you in Dallas. And if you have any other questions, hop on here, and you know how to reach out to us on the Flip with Rick Plus and all the other sites that we're part of.
awesome. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, guys. Hey, listen, if you enjoyed today's live, I need you to do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. And if you love videos just like this and you're not a quitter, listen, the only way you quit in this business is you quit. You just keep going on. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you join us on the Flip with Rick channel. You're subscribed to that, and my son's channel, Zach Ginn. This is the Rick Ginn channel. Make sure you're subscribed here. Guys, go out there and get a deal, and don't ever quit. You know how you don't quit? You just keep on going on wholesaling. This is Rick Ginn, guys. I'll see you in the next